This is absolutely huge. The story we're going to talk about in this segment. And before we get to the substance of it, admittedly, more surface level, I do want to talk about quickly, and I'll show you a clip that I think embodies this. The storyline is not getting as much attention as I think it deserves. We're going to do a whole separate segment today about the way that Trump's heart just doesn't seem in this campaign like it has been in times gone by. How he comes out for these events looking really disheveled, low energy, bored with the words he's saying, bored with the lies he's telling. And here you'll see, in a very surface level way, he just looks disheveled. His hair is all wonky. His makeup, there's just a circle of makeup, but then you can clearly see he just forgot a whole chunk of his head, and that looks bizarre, but a makeup malfunction of sorts. But the important stuff that's being discussed here is what I want to spend most of the segment talking about. First, here's a clip where he's responding to a bombshell story that we'll dive into in more detail afterwards.
We know that Special Counsel Jack Smith had filed court documents calling your actions in the aftermath of the 2020 election, quote, a private criminal effort. Can you respond to that?
He's a deranged person. I call him deranged Jack Smith. He just lost the big documents case. That was the biggest of them all. They said the documents case. And
what? I will address the lies he's telling. But again, what is going on, Donald? It's one thing to lather on the amount of orange bronze sort of stuff he does, but you do you. We're all about expression and looking your best if you want to, all that. But why did we just forget a big old bit of surface area up here? If we're gonna do that, let's put proper effort into it. If you enjoy this show, please do click that subscribe button. Easy, free, simple, but makes all the difference. Back to the video.
And they said that was the toughest of them all. Let me tell you, we just won it, and it was won strongly and completely, and it was a total victory in Florida. And he is a person who is trying, and he works for Kamala, and he works for Joe. This was a weaponization of government, and that's why it was released 30 days before the election. And it's nothing new in there, by the way, nothing new. They rigged the election. I didn't rig the election. They should have never allowed the information to come before the public, but they did that because they want to hurt you with the election. It's pure election interference to get an incompetent person like Kamala. She's grossly incompetent. She's more incompetent than Biden to get these people elected.
So a lot of the stuff that we've heard before, he's a one-trick pony with his lies every time he gets asked about his legal cases. But him coming out distressed, disheveled, and deranged makes sense given the bombshell information that was released in this as media. I report Wednesday afternoon's news cycle saw the chatter about the previous night's vice presidential debate overwhelmed by a 165-page stack of paper after Judge Tanya Chutkan unsealed a bombshell motion filed by special counsel Jack Smith in the election interference case against former President Donald Trump. And this motion has contained in it a bunch of evidence, some that we've known about or alleged evidence, some that is actually new. And so we'll go through that, and then I'll show you a few different things. One being, it mentions the vice presidential debate. What I find really exciting is that something Tim Walz did at that debate has led to a news cycle that, while a lot of people were complimenting Vance's rhetorical efficacy, I've even admitted he clearly was good at practicing and delivering talking points, as dishonest as they were. But a key moment from that debate has led to a news cycle that is really disastrous for Trump and Vance. And we'll talk about that because it connects to this. But first, the key points from this is, as we've gone over a bunch of times, Trump first tried to prevent Biden from coming into office through legal means. Court cases, as bogus as they were, you're allowed to bring court cases. Then what this motion outlines is how Trump transitioned from that into illegal activity and attempts that were involving schemes that were illegal. One of the really notable parts of this is that apparently, according to prosecutors, evidence that they're going to have to bring forward in the trial, if it ever happens, is that Trump would say to people, quote, "It doesn't matter if you won or lost, you have to fight like hell." And he was talking with people about how no matter what the ballots say, before they're even counted, I'm going to declare victory. Exactly what he did. You also have a Trump advisor quoted as in the same build up to January 6th, talking about unrest and saying, make them riot, relating to the attempts to block the peaceful transfer of power. And then there are these stories, some, again, that we've heard of Trump on the phone with his crazy, wacky lawyer, Sidney Powell, and muting himself to say to the people in the room, this is crazy. There are all these examples in the motion. We don't have time to go through everything, but to hit the key points of, for example, Mark Meadows acknowledging the claims of 10,000 dead voters in this state voted were just completely exaggerated and fabricated. That one particular example was Meadows going, okay, we're saying 10,000 plus, but actually we can find 12 examples of often accidental cases of that or purposeful fraud that people should be held accountable for, but definitely not outcome determinative or a part of some sort of conspiracy. It walks through the different ways that the Trump campaign attempted to block the peaceful transfer of power through Mike Pence, of course, blocking the certification of the election. And on 9 separate occasions, Trump pressured Pence, then was also pressuring Doug Ducey, the governor of Arizona, speakers of the House in different states, local election officials, Secretary of State, of course, finally 11,780 votes notoriously. So pressuring Pence on one end, you gotta, if the certified from the state counts get to Washington, it's your job to certify them, you have to block those and try to certify fraudulent electors that represent a fraudulent result. And this motion identifies what this was at the end of the day, which was an attempt by Trump's campaign to disenfranchise millions and millions of voters. When you try to overturn illegally the say of the people, you're spitting on the right to vote that those people have. Then it talks about this audio that we've had for some time of Steve Bannon, who had been in contact with Donald Trump in the buildup to January 6th, and before the election predicted this.
What he's going to do is just declare victory, right? He's going to declare victory. But that doesn't mean he's the winner. He's just going to say he's the winner.
And it's describing
the Democrats,
this.
More of our people vote early that count. Theirs voted mail. And so they're going to have a natural disadvantage, and Trump's going to take advantage of it. That's our strategy. He's going to declare himself a winner. So when you wake up Wednesday morning, it's going to be a firestorm. You're going to have Antifa crazy, the media crazy, the courts are crazy, and Trump's going to be sitting there mocking, tweeting shit out, you lose. I'm the winner. I'm the king. And he'll be all over. He'll be going, where's Hunter? Is Hunter on a crack pipe? I mean, no, he'll be, because then it doesn't matter. Remember, here's the thing. After that, Trump never has to go to a voter again. He's going to fire Ray, the FBI director, and fire the He's going to say, fuck you. How about that? Because he's never going to, he's done his last election. Oh, he's going to be off the chain. He's going to be crazy. Also, if Trump is losing by 10 or 11 o'clock at night, it's going to be even crazier. No, because he's going to sit right there and say they stole it.
Agree.
I'm directing the Attorney General to shut down all ballot places in all 50 states. It's going to be no. He's not going out easy. If Biden's winning, Trump is.
And so they're a close ally of Trump, getting this information likely from Trump or his knowledge of him, exactly predicted what happened. And so if you're MAGA and you're thinking, no, Trump must have claimed the election was stolen because he got some compelling evidence that still he won't share with anyone. Or I've seen the videos. I think that I've seen the things in the reports from some right-wing outlet. Does it really make sense to you that all of this was going on? Trump was telling people, I'm just going to declare victory no matter what happens. Bannon able to predict this is exactly what would happen. Advisors talking about how maybe we'll have to get people to riot to prevent a certification. Trump pressuring his vice president once the election happened, starting this campaign to get him to not do his constitutional duty. Does all that really sound like someone who analyzed the facts and then somberly, but with the responsibility to the Constitution, did what he thought was necessary to bring justice to injustices? Obviously not. And so you're following someone and you're supporting someone who so obviously did the gravest sin imaginable in American politics, which is to try to break down our democracy and prevent it from working. And there's so much in this, but we'll go on to other clips. Fox News had to report on this.
Prosecutors right now are offering a redacted version of special counsel Jack Smith's filing. That had to be made public today. It was in this newly unsealed court paper. We're learning that former President Trump resorted to crimes in a bid to cling to power after the 2020 election. We don't know much more than that. A lot of this stuff was going to be coming out anyway. We're going to be getting.
And this is also something that Smith in the superseding indictment that he had to readjust because of the Supreme Court ruling saying Trump was immune from acts that were official acts as president. Crazy ruling. But he had to adjust and make sure it was extra specified that these acts are individual, personal criminal acts, not official duties as president. But now let's get on to, I know I'm going long on this, is just so crucial. The idea that someone currently is so close to getting the White House, who last time he was in the White House did the worst thing you can possibly imagine with that power, which is trying to end our electoral process, as is documented so extensively in this and other documentation. But one thing that Walz did at the debate really worked, which was turning to Vance and saying, can you admit Trump lost the 2020 election? And Vance, of course, said, I'm thinking about the future, and also you guys want to censor or something ridiculous. And while Vance, in some polls by a narrow margin, is identified as the quote-unquote debate winner and had some rhetorically effective moments, Walz was able to, as I said, make the points he needed to and make the most important one with that back and forth, which has caused an election cycle leading to clips like this one.
Hi, Senator. Will Jones from Local 4.
Hey, Will.
I spoke with some elected officials or election officials last week about their concern about people who are trying to undermine our elections. Why didn't you answer the question last night during the debate about who won the 2020 presidential election?
Well, look, here's the simple reason. The media is obsessed with talking about the election of 4 years ago. I'm focused on the election of 33 days from now because I want to
Yeah, and we learn about your character, your principles through the past, right? The past and the present are the only things that will give us insight into that. And so in the past, we've seen your boss and you yourself, JD, do things and say things that indicate you have no respect for our constitutional process. JD Vance on the debate stage did not refute the characterization by the moderators that he sought to assert illegal, the things that Trump wanted to get counted, the illegal electoral count. Vance didn't refute that Vance would have gone along with that scheme. And he has said that he would have. So as vice president, this ceremonial duty of overseeing the certification of the electoral count, Vance would have tried to use that to unlawfully keep Trump in office. The worst thing you can imagine a vice president doing. And Vance says, I would do that. Why are we talking about anything else then? That's it. That's it. And so then to say, I'm focused on now, not back then. Yeah, but back then taught us something about now and about the future. And that's what we should be focusing on. Then Congressman Tom Emmer on Caitlin Collins' show was asked a similar question.
What voters want to hear. We've actually seen polls that show voters are also concerned about democracy. It registers higher than maybe some Republicans might predict. And the reason I was especially curious what you would say to this and what your thinking was going into this, knowing this would be a topic, is because in 2020, you did sign on to that brief supporting a Texas lawsuit that would have invalidated the election results in 4 states, but you ultimately chose to certify the election. You broke with some of your Republican colleagues, and you chose to certify it. You said in a statement that Congress does not have the authority to discard an individual slate of electors certified by a state's legislature in accordance with their constitution. And you yourself said doing so sets a precedent that I believe undermines the state-based system of elections that defines our republic. I mean, do you still feel that way tonight?
Again, Caitlin, we're talking about an election that's going to take place in 35 days. What are you doing talking about something that's 4 years ago? We can have this
Donald Trump
debate
is still talking about it
some
from 4
other
years
time
ago,
going
with all
forward.
due respect,
The people are hurting. Well, with all due respect, Caitlin, people want to know. They're hurting. They want to know how it's going to get fixed,
And the way we fix those problems are through our democracy. That's the whole system, Tom. And Trump has shown he would absolutely unravel it, as he tried to do last time. And I'm attempting here just to deliver all of this information to you in a level-headed way, to stay calm about this. But this should be something we never stop being outraged about until it's no longer a part of our political process. That we have this movement that has told us over and over again, power is so much more important to them than principle, than constitutional principles specifically. And then it is gaslighting. I know people get annoyed when that term's overused, but to look at people and go, why are you still focusing on that? You support a guy who last time he had the office that he wants to get back, he allegedly, according to these prosecutors, with extensive evidence cited, knowingly participated in an illegal effort to keep himself in office after he lost a lawful election. And only because a few key people, like his attorney general, like his vice president, etc., said, we're not doing that. Many of those people won't be there next time. But because of those people, Trump did end up leaving after violence, after a democratic crisis, and he did eventually leave because these things failed on January 20th. How do you not see that? Y'all are always saying you don't trust Kamala Harris because of this thing from 2019 or that thing from 2020, that compared to what we're talking about here is the most irrelevant thing ever. It's completely irrelevant. This gets to the core of our entire process. So you don't bring up a single, oh no, but people want to know about that. Yeah, they do want to know about that. And you know how they get their say in about who they think could do better on solving those problems? Democracy. But your guy wanted to unravel that. And it's shameful no matter how much time goes by. We're only going to stop talking about it when we get to stop talking about Trump and MAGA, because they are made politically irrelevant because they lose enough elections. Then, on a more hopeful note, someone who is a part of the Trump administration, Sarah Matthews, realized everything that I'm saying is true, and she said this on MSNBC.
I think the difference between us is that I'm willing to set policy aside in this election. I don't agree with Kamala Harris on most things, but at the end of the day, you know what we can agree on? That we respect the Constitution, that I believe she is someone who will uphold it. And Donald Trump has shown us that he won't. He is the first president in our nation's history to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power. And so even J.D. Vance trying to have this revisionist history last night at the VP debate, where he's trying to say that Trump peacefully transferred power over. Yeah, that was after 140 police officers were brutally beaten at the Capitol, and rioters were there inspired by these conspiracy theories that Trump spread, all because he couldn't accept the fact that he lost to someone he perceives as weak as Joe Biden. So yes, I don't want to put someone like that back in power in the Oval Office, because I don't think he deserves to step foot anywhere near it.
Beautifully said. Think about how low character and how weak you have to be to throw us into, I'm talking about decades. We're going to have decades of election denialism, democratic doubt, and a disturbing movement around those things because Trump is just a sore loser. Think about how little you have to care about the system we have to send us into that. because you can't be a big boy and accept that you lost. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Support the show by clicking the join button below.